you've heard of probiotics, and then there's prebiotics and digestive enzymes. So some people might have, if you've got some sort of digestive problem, you might have been prescribed prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and all these kind of things. If things like leeks and onions are prebiotic foods, and they help feed your bacteria in your gut because they get right down to your lower intestine, and they're helping to produce really good bacteria, make you go to the toilet really well. So okay. But we need both prebiotics because that helps release the digestive enzymes and help you break down food, and that happens in your stomach. And then we need like the probiotics and the good quality bacteria. So where the onions come in, what Kim was just talking about, is in your things like your leeks and your cabbage and things. When they are raw and live food, they're providing like digestive enzymes and prebiotics, and all that's helping to make you absorb your food much better. So, on to kombucha.
How much green tea do we need, sorry?
Six tablespoons.
Of green tea?
Yeah.
Oh, no, and how much?
3 litres.
3 litres?
Of hot water.
Of hot water?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we make like a half batch?
Yeah, totally.
So, litre and a half?
Yep, so, yep. So, who's tried kombucha before? Yeah? Okay, so kombucha is like a sour, fizzy drink. When you ferment kombucha too long, it turns into a vinegar, and it's kind of something. If you give it to your father-in-law, he's like, "Oh, it tastes like apple cider vinegar." it's a vinegary tasting drink, but it's much it's lighter than that, and every batch you make is going to be different. And so basically, what it starts with is green tea. You can make it with black tea. I make it with green tea, and I make it with then coconut sugar. The sugar that goes into it is completely eaten by the scoby by the end of it, so it's not a sugary tasting drink to start with. So I'll show you what you need is this scoby, and this is like a human-like thing. It looks like a big jellyfish, and it's like an organ or something. And so this is a really big SCOBY. It's quite a healthy, big one. And when you get them, like you can get them from, you can buy them online, and you can buy them from different stores. They are much thinner, and they're generally like that there. I actually peeled this one off the top of that one, and so it's a much thinner. So what they do is they keep reproducing and they keep doubling. So once you get your SCOBY, you start giving it to your friends. Like it just becomes this thing, you know, can I have some SCOBY? And you give a SCOBY to your friend, and and you get them into making kombucha. Yeah. And so they keep reproducing, or they get thicker like this. Generally, they have about a life of about 10 batches before like the bottom one sort of starts to disappear, and then the top ones are forming on the top. You can also make your own SCOBY, and what you do is you've got your bottle of kombucha here, and because this is live food, and you see that sediment sitting at the bottom, if you were to get a bottle of this, it might, depending on the quality from a store, if you were to leave it out on the bench and ferment, a SCOBY will start to form on the top. And you might even buy one, and you'll see this thin layer sitting on the top of it, and if you leave it out, it just becomes stronger and starts to turn into this. So a SCOBY stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, and so this is a bacterial yeast product, and that ferments the sugar, and it ferments the tea, and it turns it into this probiotic drink. They're all probiotics. Yep, they're all probiotics. These have got prebiotics in them as well, and because it's just live food, it's all just incredible for your digestive system, so it's providing everything. And this is incredible for your liver health, and for your detoxification, for helping to reduce bad bacteria in your guts, helping to reduce overgrowth of fungus, even helping to cleanse out parasites, all those kind of things. It's just a really gentle cleansing drink that does amazing things, because it's not like suddenly doing a massive crash detox and your body goes through massive withdrawals. It's just a really gentle way of cleansing your body out and helping to break down and carry out things that we don't want. So when it comes to kombucha, it needs to be in a glass jar, and it needs to be you don't want to be putting metal into it, because that's going to affect the quality of the kombucha and also affect the scoby as well. So you're just wanting to make sure that if you want to try and use like wooden spoons or just your hands to handle it. But it's so what happens with this is you get, the recipe is basically 3 litres of water, and I do it to 6 tablespoons of green tea leaves, organic green tea leaves, because you want to be making sure that you've got good quality tea going in there, and then you add a cup of sugar to that. And so that's a basic kombucha recipe, and you could be using black tea.
That's the one we used, which is from a local tea company.
And so you can use like green tea, black tea, you can use flavoured teas as well, because it's the tannins in there that get fermented, and the sugar is eaten away by the scoby, so it's not in there at the end. So after you basically get a big pot of water, put your tea on top of that, throw your sugar in it, bring it up to a boil, and then let it cool. And so you've just basically brewed a big batch of sugary tea. And the way to find out whether or not it does taste, the difference between a fermented tea and the starter batch is to taste your starter batch, and it will taste like incredibly sweet, sickly tea. And then you taste kombucha after 7 days, and it's this soury, fizzy, fermented probiotic drink. And so you need to make sure that it's cooled down.
So can you brew it in stainless steel?
Yeah. Yeah.
So because we are.
No, the stainless steel's good. But it's those, you're just not wanting to get, the dishes with the, not enamels, the plastic coverings over the top. And so then you leave it, so you put your scoby on top of it, and then it's about 7 days to ferment, 7 to 8 days. And depending on the temperature where you are, like through summer I was fermenting 5 days, just because I made this massive batch and I was hoping it'll be all ready for you guys. But it's still slightly, like you can taste it now, it's not quite kombucha, so you have a wee glass of it, but it's still a little bit sweet. And then it just gets a little bit sourer. And if you leave it too long, all you've got is vinegar. And so then you've got a cleaning product, or you've got vinegar to make things with. And you can put, if you do let it ferment, because I've let it go a bit too far, and then I've just used my kombucha in recipes that require vinegar, or I've used it in different places that require vinegar to wash your hair if you want to wash your hair. It's just it's the cheapest way to create a whole lot of different things.
So then would you just store it in the fridge?
Yeah, so then what happens is so about 7 to 8 days you'll taste it, if it's like what you want, because every batch is going to be slightly different, because this is changing strength all the time. The temperature in your house is changing all the time, so every batch is going to be slightly, so you just taste and you go, yeah, that's good for me, I'm going to run with that. And then you start to bottle it, and you bottle it, you can then leave it in your pantry still, and it will ferment a little bit further, and it will start to bubble, and you can leave it in there for as long as you want, but it just might become a bit too acidic, but that's still fine. And as soon as you put it in the fridge, it's going to stop the flavour, so you kind of want to catch it at a place that you like, and then you basically stop that fermentation by putting it in the fridge. The things that are floating in this is ginger, so this is like ginger beer. You can then add oranges to it, you can add strawberries, you can add cinnamon, you can add all sorts of flavours to it. So as soon as it's brewed and you put it in your bottles, you add your flavour to it, or you just keep it plain and it just becomes this drink that you love.
So oxygen can get...
Yep, this is fine, yep. So this needs to breathe, and so there's 2 things that'll go wrong with this.
So do you want to make them? So we're going to make it in here?
Yep.
It'll be a small one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So is that up there?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Well, that'll be hot though, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
so...
we need it to cool?
Yeah.
So what if we add, because this is a concentrated mixture, because I cheated, because we didn't have a big enough teapot. So this is like a concentration of green tea, so if I add it to cold water...
Perfect, yeah.
We like to cheat. Cool.
Yeah, I usually make a 3-litre batch is usually half of that big thing. I got this from Mitre 10 Mega. That's very cool, eh? That's 2 batches, so it's about 6 litres.
Does it need to be really cold? Like it can't be warm?
Yeah.
Because what will happen if it's warm?
It just sort of kills this SCOBY.
Oh. Right, we'll leave that for a while.
Yeah. But all that you do is you've got this here, and you'd take your SCOBY out and you'd put it in there. And then you'd...
Oops,
so there's...
We're going to make kimchi in.
Yeah, so there's 2 things that'll go wrong with your kimchi. The first is that you won't... Sorry, kombucha, is that you won't cover it. And you're going to get fruit flies in there, and they might lay some eggs, and then it's this disgusting thing with insects on top of it. So you've got to make sure you cover it and seal it up, because covering it like that, and little fruit flies love it, and after one day you'll have fruit flies on it, and then it's gone. The other thing that you do is that you might get mould on it, and that will just mean your SCOBY wasn't quite a good enough SCOBY, and it's just hasn't been quite happy enough.
So you don't put the lid on it and seal it up?
No, it needs to breathe, because the fermentation is going to be releasing carbon dioxide, so that needs to get out and oxygen needs to come in.
So just like a handy towel?
Yeah, I use like a silk cheesecloth sort of thing, or a handy towel, or a tea towel. Just make sure it's wrapped over it and it's not like doubled over, so it just needs the oxygen to get through.
Sorry, so you want some coconut sugar?
Yeah.
Mix it with coconut sugar, or are you supposed to wait till it's cold to do the sugar?
No, the sugar's melted in the pot.
Sweet, we're totally doing that.
But you see how to do that, eh? So you put the green tea with the sugar in a pot, wait for it to cool, put it in with your SCOBY.
How much sugar?
A cup to 3 litres, so whatever you did.
Oh, yeah.
And then you put it like an elastic band
Like a
around
litre.
Yeah,
just to keep it
just to stop the flies getting in, so you just put that on top.
So a third of a cup to a litre?
Yeah.
Have you ever put a SCOBY online?
On what?
Online, have you ever gone?
Yes.
You have?
Yep.
And to success?
Yep, totally. There's waterkeefer.co.nz. I think that's a company I bought through. Something with kefir in the
I was
title.
just on that today, yeah, it's water kefir.
It is. Yeah, so I bought a couple from there. I got into making kombucha like 3 years ago, and then it just died out. And then I got into it again, and then I got into it again. So I bought it a couple of times from there. And there's also a lady selling them at Wild Earth Organics, Jane from Papamoa. She's selling them in there, so they're in the fridge. And they generally come in a sealed, like a vacuum packed bag.
The guy selling them on.
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
It's really good because you've got all the extractions in black and white.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who sells them on Trophy for $5 as well.
Yeah. The best is to find someone who's making them, and they'll want to give you some as well. So, yeah.
So you put it in your bottles and you put it in the fridge and it stops the process. Can you keep them in there for as long as they last for ages?
Yeah, totally. So you can. It's called like a SCOBY hotel, where you can put all your SCOBYs into a jar, and you can just store them there. And so your SCOBY, see how this is turned into the shape of the jar. So this one here I only put in there today, so it's kind of floating, it's kind of sinking because it came out of this jar, so it's kind of like, what am I doing with my life? And when, like, it'll probably take 2 days, and it'll just form the perfect shape of the top of this, and it'll be this beautiful, like, silky, clean SCOBY. And that's kind of how you want it when you buy it, is just this good one at the top. So then you can then be creating batches, so then you might take a bit off this and you can put it into another jar, and then you can give that jar to a friend and she's got her first starter kit. And so when you you get your SCOBY, it'll be in a little bit of liquid, and you want that liquid to go into the start of your next batch, because that's getting it going.
Do you just like pull it apart?
Yeah, I do. You can be quite rough with it, sort of. Yeah, like I literally I pulled the top off this afternoon, so it's, pulled it as gently as I could, but it's, it does, in a couple of days it seals itself over and it becomes quite smooth on top again. It's live and it's healing itself like a body part would in yourself. It's quite freaky.
Am I doing this right?
Yep.
Have I got too much liquid in me?
No, that should be right. So can you see what's...
Hi, by the way, guys, just some kimchi here. Looks incredible. So just like that, and there's liquid coming right out the top.
Yeah, so it's all been pushed down, so it's becoming an anaerobic thing without oxygen, and then you're just wanting to make sure you seal it up.
Do you want me to put more cabbage on top?
Yeah. And so I'd ferment that for about seven days. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Cool.
She won't let that last for the fermentation. She'll be having that for breakfast.
Alrighty, so as they asked for a second,
that's it. Yeah.
I'm just looking at time, so I'm going to make the smoothie. So I just want to tell you guys what I've come up with for the smoothie. So I wanted to do a kombucha smoothie because I had this great idea that that it would just give that flavour, that deliciousness, and then I was going to test it on the weekend and then I didn't. So it's a bit of a we're guessing. No, we're not. We tested it just before. It's quite delicious. So this is kombucha that I purchased off. I don't know if any of you guys know Alyssa. She's been brewing it at home in her commercial kitchen, and we're going to mix that. I'm going to do feijoa and kiwi fruit and spinach. Spinach and a green apple and kombucha, and we're topping it up because this is. I don't know if you talked about this. I wasn't listening that well, but this is not fizzy yet. Yeah. She hadn't sealed it, so it was just had the thing over the top. So I'm just going to fizz it up a little bit by adding some fizzing Flatland spring water. So that's what we're going to do. So if anyone wants the recipe, this would be like your one smoothie in the morning, but I've like quadrupled it or whatever. You guys are going to have proper like a 250ml each, so you shouldn't eat dinner. So yeah, that would be 1 apple, 2 feijoas, 2 kiwi fruit, and a bunch of spinach, I think. Yeah, and about half a cup of, about 250 mils of kombucha and about 250 mils of spring water. Cool. Okay. So that when you ferment it, like about 7 sort of day mark, it does become fizzy, and then if you store it in your pantry, like you've bottled it, it then gets more fizzier, so you can kind of see the bubbles sitting at the top. Yeah. That's like a 7-day-old kombucha. Then when the ginger's made it a little bit more fizzy as well.
So if you put it in the fridge, will it go fizzy?
No, you want the fizzy process to happen outside it because that's the fermentation. So you want, you can have it when it's being fizzy, and your first few batches might not get fizzy because it's going to depend on the strength of your scoby and just a few experiments, like could be 1 day in it that makes the difference. And so there's nothing wrong with it being flat. You've still got the benefits out of that as well. Yeah.
Can you drink too much of it?
I'd hate to say you can't, but I doubt that you would because it's not intense. But you're going to drink what you need because you might start to like crave it, and it's just your body. It's something that you're allowed to crave because your body's actually it's seeking for this thing that's providing amazing nutrients and probiotics for it. So unlike sugar that you might be craving, you don't want to be craving sugar. It's often a sign of something else. This is something that's actually really healing for you. And I will have probably 3 glasses a day, 250 like normal glasses a day. Some days I might have more. I find it gives me a bit of a pick-me-up as well because it's a cold, fresh drink out of the fridge, a bit sour, and it's quite good. There's a little bit of caffeine in it from the green tea. You could take the caffeine out of it by doing a double brew when you pour boiling water over green tea and you let it sit for 1 to 2 minutes. You can decaffeinate it and then you re-brew your green tea. Have you ever heard of that before? So, because green tea's got about 15 milligrams of caffeine in it. Coffee has about 30 to 50 milligrams of caffeine, and so if you're trying to get rid of the caffeine out of your diet, you can reduce the caffeine in green tea by basically putting it in your plunger, pouring hot water over it, letting it sit for 1 to 2 minutes, taking the water out, straining it out, and then rebrewing it like you're starting again, and that takes away a good half of the caffeine out of the green tea. So when it's fermented as well, it reduces the caffeine content of the green tea because it's been eaten and fermented out. So it does come out of it, leaves about 2 to 3% in there. There's also a little bit of alcohol in some batches as well, about 1%. just because of the fermentation in it. And there's going to be different coloured kombuchas that you'll see, and it's all a case of what sugar was used, what colour tea was used. So there's no right or wrong way. Like if you used a really dark black tea and a white sugar, it might look the same, but then if you used a dark sugar and a black tea, it's going to be a much darker product. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm just going to blend up the blender, which is going to make a lot of noise, and then you guys are welcome to get up and have a chit chat and ask Nicola some questions and stuff. So I just want to thank again Mount Whole Foods for donating the produce, and to thank Fee for obviously giving us the local for the night. You guys have all been given tonight a card so you know where the Mount Whole Foods is, and also we've clipped 5 tickets on a free coffee, so or hot chocolate or chai or tea or whatever, anything. So if you guys ever want to come back and try it out. And thanks to Nicola and Ben as well for coming in, because that's just so awesome to be here, and yeah, that's been fantastic. I'm sure I'm for one going to make kimchi and sauerkraut at home, and I'm going to give kombucha a go too. So cool. Might have to have a hotel party. What is it? Scoby party. Scoby party. Yeah. You guys join me in thanking for coming. I'm going to make the smoothie, and if you guys want to come up just and bring your jars up.
Thanks for having me. Hope you learned something.